Okay, so you were good at reading people, you said.
Yeah, I think so. I think I like good um, intuition. Like my intuition in live poker, I think is normally is pretty good. I think. Yeah.
That's a unique skill set, I'd say, especially from like the younger crowd and um, the online crowd, especially. Do you have any tips off of that? You think that was just a natural skill, or did you do anything to develop that?
I think it's more like a natural thing. I always like to listen to people, to know how people feel, and I'm good at to know how the other person is feeling at the moment.
Hmm.
And when people sit at the table, some people start they are really extrovert or introvert. So qualify this type of people and classify for me is something that I enjoy when I sit in a table, and that's also why I like more. I enjoy more playing main events than high rollers
Hmm.
because high rollers is like the same people all the time, and we know each other way too much. When
Hmm.
when we are in like a main event, it's like people like maybe I don't know 6 or 7 players, and for me it's like more like a mental challenge to put to try to put in his head and try how they perceive me, how they what they know about poker, how if they are like a player who is really aggressive or they are really tight, and this type of thing is fun for me when new players come to the table.
Hmm. I can relate to that in some kind of way. I mean, there's something novel about, um, well, not just playing with people who aren't so experienced, but also talking poker with amateurs. I guess I'm weird like that. I mean, I could talk with poker with pros, but I know where it's gonna go a lot of the time. It depends. If it like really challenges me, okay, but most of the time it's the same discussions.
Yeah.
And you think about it in a different way. I could see how that could be more interesting, just because you see a wider variety of people as well. Would you say you're like really attentive on the table? Like you're often listening closely to everyone, or are you like a little bit aloof and then you hear something, you play some hands, you get a read
Yeah.
that way or whatever? How would you describe that you're gathering information? Are you just really in the moment there, or
Yeah, I guess everyone do it inconsciently when the guy how they dress, how is him or how they talk, and all this information I think is really valuable, and like my first instinct is normally super good when one guy sit at the table and just talk for 2 minutes. More or less, I
hmm,
know how he will play, and I will say like 90% of the time I'm right or even more. Like
really?
I
Okay.
don't know, yeah, I have like really natural talent for that, and even when the player I didn't know too much about him. I more or less know if he's tight or aggro or study poker or never study poker ever. Or yeah, I think it's could be a natural talent, yeah, I guess.
I feel like I want to try it a bit more myself. You're kind of inspiring me to give it. I mean, I do try it a bit, but I haven't made like. I mean, I make guesses, but I don't like. I find people are really consistent actually in a lot of spots. But I will say that I've seen some really crazy stuff in main events, and people are like on one extreme or the other a lot. They'll like make it
Yeah.
crazy folds, or they'll never bluff. I mean, there's certain spots where like no one ever bluffs, basically, unless they're like a pro. It's very hard to bluff in these spots and like really think through your strategy. But
Yeah.
there's certain people that just like never bluff or don't have any in them, or just make these crazy folds. I've noticed some
Yeah.
weird psychological tendencies that happen a lot, and definitely like one thing I'm personally good at is I'm good at seeing. I mean, like you were talking about knowing where someone is emotionally. I'm knowing what they'll do in certain emotional states, but I don't necessarily know some of the subtle emotional states. Well, there are general patterns in tournaments of how people act. Like usually in the beginning, no one really cares, and that's when they'll start messing
Yeah.
around or whatever. But later on in the tournaments, then a lot of people, I mean, on like again,
Change.
unless they're pros, are going to start making. They're going to start leaning in like a few very distinct directions for the most part. That's my
Yeah.
experience. I think I'm more
Yeah,
of
yeah, I
like
agree.
looking at how the whole population acts as a whole rather than like I mean, I adjust a bit, but I don't think I can figure out people in like 2 minutes based on how they talk. But I'm really interested in that,
Yeah.
actually.
For me, also like now is different that when I start because now Also, I'm really non-pro, so when I sit at the table with the Winamax pads and the cameras are around me and everything, like most of the people are afraid to play with me, but some of the guys try to battle ego with ego. So you need to know really quick who is who, because some players will fall a lot to you because they don't want problems, and this is the majority, I guess. And then some players really want to fuck you, like for the camera and start to do his crazy shit just to own you. And to know which type of player is it, I think is really important, especially like in big fields, main events type of tournament.
And I guess I could say that's like one of the benefits of being a pro is that people like take those two stances a lot against you. It's hard to like get the middle ground. The middle ground is where the skill is at. Actually, in dealing with people.
Yeah, the middle ground is against the good pros, but when you play against bad players, is one side or the other normally. It's never the middle one.
I mean, that's kind of fun. It creates like all these like crazy things that happen that you just never expect, like bluffing with the best hand and getting called and crazy stuff like that. So do you have any examples for me of like how someone might talk if they're if just how someone might talk that you know that they might be a fighter, or someone that might talk that they've never studied poker before?
Yeah, the fighter used to not talk to me directly too much. Like they try to look at me with some kind of envy or like something like that. I feel like, oh, this guy tried to bluff everyone, and his look is different for me. And they normally talk about in the table, but not to me directly sometimes. And this is the type of player who normally try to bluff me more. And when we are in the pot, they try to win the pot. And then the other players is like, oh, you are here on my table. Oh, I'm really unlucky that you sit to my left, or try to be too nice to me. This type of players normally are really tight against me.
Yeah, I guess if someone's too nice to you, they're not usually likely gonna like.
Yeah, normally when they are too nice to me, normally they play really tight against me.